Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Always Smiling Faces podcast on the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. The four were back. It's the first time that all four have been here. It might be 2 weeks now. Decker's returned to the channel after his
Yes.
I'm
back.
Week been.
Your sound's going a bit funny, Chris.
Oh, is it? This is a great start.
You're all right there now. You're all right.
All right.
You're all right.
So I was saying, how's your week been, Decker?
It's been tremendous, full of eating, full of drinking. Been hungover all day today, actually. But yeah, it's been fine. It was my Ben's birthday, so I've just been plodding on. I feel like this week life's really returned to normal. This week seems to be the one where I just feel like everything's back to normal. So it feels like
it's been great to see, hasn't it, Bestie? I saw you the other week, and you were saying that it's great just when you were walking through. Was it Jarrow Town Centre? You said, and you could see everybody opening the shutters.
I was waiting to get my hair cut last Monday, and it was Jarrow TC, the Metropolis, otherwise known as, and it was I was there for 9 o'clock, and about 9, 9:30, 10, you could see the shutters getting open, and in The Simpsons when I think they cancelled Krusty. And all the kids run out the street and they're kind of out the front doors giving it that. It was a bit like that. It was like everything's kind of starting to get back to normal. It helps that the weather's been quite nice as well, and we've been able to go and get our hair by some of the people with hair. But it wouldn't have made much of a difference to some of the lads. But it's just been canny. It feels like things are starting to get back to normal a little bit.
It has been. Mark, I've seen lots of you recently.
All the best bits.
Well, I'm not sure there is a best bit with you, mate. But I've seen you a couple of times over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're kind of keep away from each other now that we're actually allowed to meet in the outside world in real life, as they say.
Yeah. So, boys, let's get down to business. Decker, unfortunately, you couldn't be here with us last week to say the magical words, but we did have a video from you. We don't need a video tonight, so Decker, take it away.
Well, when you know, get in. Get in, man.
I'll start with a question.
Can you believe it? 3 in a row.
Always safe now. Always safe. I'll start with you, Mark. I don't want mathematically safe because we know we're not.
Yes.
But yes, you're going yes. Bestie.
Yes.
Safe now. God, anything else? Nah, not yet. Not yet. If we lose every game between now and the rest of the season, we're down, I think. So, I don't know. Maybe we are. I don't know.
Thanks for that one, Bessie. Degger.
It's not just a it's a, oh, hell yeah. We're safe, man. We're safe. We're fine. We're absolutely fine.
I don't know if I'm that confident, but
I just want to say it's not a happy moment for Newcastle United fans to celebrate safety, but it seems like
you're not going to get a party popper out again this time, are you?
I'm not. I'm
just preparing myself.
I feel as if a weight's been lifted off our shoulders over the last 2 games, picking up 6 points. We made hard work of it at the weekend, I'll tell you
Typical
that.
Newcastle,
Jesus Christ. Let's get straight to the game. There was no watch along this week. Would have been fantastic if there was a lot watch along because everything happened in that game. So maybe we shouldn't do them anymore. But changes to the lineup, it was quite simply Dwight Gale was out and Saint was in. I think we're all under the impression that if Saint's fit, Saint has to start. And somebody has to sacrifice that his role, his position, so Saint can get in the team. Going into the game, what was everybody's thoughts on it? Did you think it was going to be? Well, Mark, we know what your thoughts were. You said West Ham were a stroll in the park, and they were the first half. Second half, not so much. So, were you as confident going in that game, Mark, as what you led to believe the week running up to it, or did you just forget how good West Ham were?
Yeah, he looked at the table. He looked at the table and realised, actually, fuck, I've got this totally wrong.
Shit.
To be fair,
I was thinking about West Ham last season.
It was the game in the run up to us playing them where I thought, they were missing Antonio and they were missing Rice, and I thought this is, going to be. They're not going to be the same team, and then they obviously went out and played in that and were phenomenal first half, absolutely brilliant, and then they fell to pieces in the second half. Bit of a reversal to then go into to our game because they were terrible first half and then much better second half. But thankfully, as we know it, we hung on and were able to turn it around. But I just had a little bit of confidence. I didn't think we'd go the way we did with our first half performance, but I thought we'd at least get a draw, and it was looking like that moving into that second half that was going to become true. So it was a nice surprise for it to end the way that it did.
Yeah, like you said, it was the opposite West Ham than what we normally see. Bestie, it's normally the case where West Ham take the lead, then they start conceding goals in the second half. Complete opposite at the weekend. It was us that dominated that first half. Absolutely dominated. So some players had put a fantastic shift in that first half. And for, I would probably say 3 games in a row now, Joe Linton was involved in everything.
He was, yeah. Both of the yellow cards that Craig Dawson got were for fouls on Joe Linton kind of going through the middle. So obviously he offered more than just getting fouled. I mean, that's not exactly a great a sparkling review, like, but he does. I think it's the old thing that you either think he's brilliant or you think he's shite every week, and there's no room for nuance with Joe Linton, it seems. I thought we played all right. I mean, is he putting the performances in that you'd hope a £40 million striker would be? Obviously he isn't, but the 3 games that they've won in a row now, obviously the big win against Tottenham, 2-2 I think it was, wasn't it? West Ham and who else was it that they beat? Was it
Burnley?
That's right, of course. Joe Linton's played well in all those games, I thought. I'm not saying he's the sole reason that that things have turned around, but when he's playing well, I think you should give him credit for it. But yeah, the first half, I mean, for all Newcastle, and I don't want to put a downer on things here, but for all Newcastle were, I thought, comfortably the better team in the first half. Both goals were kind of made in West Ham, weren't they?
You could probably argue that, but I would probably say the first one that's going on target. That's definitely it's gone past the keeper.
It's not going in though, is it?
Well, if the defender's not there,
if Issa doesn't get back, it's in. But that's why it's Issa Diop, sorry, because it was Issa in the '98 World Cup. It was a really weird thing. It was a similar on goal in '98. It was Henry chipped the ball over the keeper and he kind of clears it off himself. So because he stopped it going in and then deflected it back goalwards, that second action makes it an own goal. And it's the same thing where he says goal line clearance, champion, well done, but he's played it off himself. So it's just really bizarre. But if he's not there, it's a goal, isn't it? So regardless.
Yeah. Degger, let's talk about your favourite player, Saint. So Saint was back. Saint was just casually sitting in town yesterday outside Charles Gray under Gray's monument. Just sat there on the tables, just having a drink. It's great to have him back, mate, isn't it? You can just tell he's the reason. He's the player that makes us tick. Without him, we are absolutely garbage.
Yeah, well, I've said this for I don't know for how long, honestly. I'm going back to when we were in the pub days. I remember there was a time where I walked off because Mark was full of shit when he was talking and saying that Saint was to blame for this and Saint was to blame for that, and I walked off.
Ran too fast. I think he said he ran too fast once.
That's not entirely true.
He ran too fast and all sorts of nonsense. But I've said it from the day he signed that Saint is the most exciting player we've got. Of course, there's many other players that are part of that puzzle, but the Burnley game for me, I know I'm going back here, but that Burnley game when he came back and he came on the field, he won with that game. I know Murphy scored a screamer, but it was Saint that got in that position to set him up.
7 minutes, maybe,
do you know what I mean? And then you seen in that first half against West Ham, they could not live with him. He was taking the piss out of them, to be honest. And going back to the original question of if I didn't fancy it, I think West Ham are a good side. They're going for top 4. I had a bit doubt to them last week, and they turned over Leicester, and I thought, Jesus, these are really good. And we made them look incredibly ordinary in that first half, and you have to give credit to everyone, all the players for that. Obviously, I know we'll come on to the second half, but certainly that first half, I mean, it was tremendous, right? The goals were a little bit fortunate, don't get us wrong, but at the end of the day, I mean, if you would have said to me, West Ham are going to score 2 goals, do you think Newcastle's going to get anything out of the game? I would have said not a chance. You know what I mean? So it was a fantastic result. And the last 3 games, I know we're joking on that it's 3 wins because of what Bruce said, but I mean, to get 7 points from them 3 games and 2 of them are against good opposition, I think. I think it's been a tremendous few weeks for, makes it a lovely change, to be honest.
I think what we have to look at is since Wilson hasn't been around, we've always complained that players aren't in the right positions. Joe was right there under the keeper. It was him that was leaning back into the keeper. I'm not saying he forced that error. It was just bad goalkeeping. But if he's not there, it's not a goal because the defender just clears it off the line. That's all that we're asked for Joe for God knows how long now. Get yourself in the right position. And he's done that. He has done that. He grabbed his goal, of course, albeit it was an easy goal to take. But if he's not there, then, like I said, the ball gets cleared. A few of the performances, I'll come back to you, Mark, is why is it taking so long to get Sean back in that team?
I don't know. It's just a funny one.
You just mute yourself there. Well done.
Don't even know how I did it either. It's a strange one, isn't it? We know that there's been a lot of rumours about falling outs and stuff like that, and he's came in and he's getting a little bit of a run in the team, isn't he? And again, first half, very, very, very good. Didn't go to plan in the second half, but you could say that for the majority of the team there. But it's nice to see him kind of getting in the team, keeping the ball moving. But it was a good first 45 minutes. Just was busy, involved, kept ticking over, kept the ball moving around and stuff like that, and allowed the players in and around him to then get the ball and get forward and just get us on the front foot. So I think the other big one for me, who's made a massive difference, is Matt Ritchie. The way he's came into this team, and for me on Saturday, he was unbelievable. Absolute man of the match performance from me. Can it be beaten? And he doesn't capture the headlines like the likes of Saint does, but we all know what he gives us. He gives you that 100%. He gives you the effort, the commitment, and I think that's having a big bearing on the fact that we have picked up the 3 results that we've just been talking about since we brought him back into the team, because he just brings that work ethic and an ability to drive the other players on in and around him, and again gives Saint that freedom to pick up the ball and then just fly, as another Frenchman once said.
To be honest with you, I think Bestie, I'll come to you. Do you think this whole bust up which you had with Steve Bruce, that's made Ritchie that little bit more determined now to think, I'm getting on this field now and I'm going to prove to him that he's been wrong all season? Because we haven't saw much of Ritchie. I think we did at the start of the season. We haven't saw a great deal of him. But the last couple of games, it's been his crosses that have got us the goals.
Yeah, it's kind of been since we went back to the back 5 as well, hasn't it? So I mean, I dare say that if Bruce had stuck with 4-4 or not, playing 4 at the back, then Ritchie probably wouldn't be in the side. Still,
Lewis.
It would what is it? Would be Lewis or maybe Dummett if Lewis wasn't fit. Ritchie, I think he's always had that. I remember the first game of the season. I think it was the second season back up. We played Tottenham at home, and he got subbed. And there's a video of him. He's seething on the bench. He's breathing through his teeth, and he's red, and he's furious. I think Ritchie. I don't think it's just a reaction to the falling out with Bruce. I think Ritchie's just that kind of player. He's always since he's come to Newcastle. He's been here for, I think he's in his 5th season now. He's always someone that I've considered to be a bit of a captain, albeit one that doesn't wear the armband. You see how he has an influence on the game. Even when he hasn't got the ball, you can see him he's a leader. I think he's a winner, to be honest with you. For all he's not going to win out in Newcastle. But I think the last 3-4 games that he's played at the back of that, I think Jacob Murphy, you've got to mention as well. I think he's really played well enough as well. I think what Ritchie's for all he started off on right midfield, didn't he, in the Championship that first season? Yeah. Right to the 3-behind striker, and to go to left wing back. He's not the quickest. He maybe hasn't got the best engine, but his desire and his will to kind of to win. I mean, you put that ball in for the Joe Willock header with 10 minutes to go, 5 minutes left to go, and he's still buzzing up. He's trying to hit it in himself and all sorts. He's a real asset, I think.
Yeah, Degger, do I have to give Bruce credit with bringing Ritchie back in, because it would have been easy for Bruce to say, I'm never playing you again after calling him a coward and obviously that bust up. Do you think that you have to give Bruce credit and think, right, okay, you've got this one right by not holding any grudges really and thinking, right, now's your chance, go and see what you can do?
I think you have to, yeah. And I know a lot of people won't like to saying that, but I mean, going 3 at the back and then playing Ritchie left wing back, you could have quite easily put Lewis in there. Because if I'm being honest with you, I think Lewis is better suited playing left wing back than actually a full on
I think we've all been saying for God knows how long now that Lewis needed some time out of that team because he was suspect at times. So that decision had to be made, really. But yeah, carry on about Ritchie, mate.
I also think, you forget in football, don't you? Things happen so fast and so quickly. I mean, if you cast your mind back to that Brighton game, we lost 3-0 and then Hayden got injured. And obviously you knew it was a bad one. He was in a really bad way. And then coming from that game and then to think that we haven't lost the following 3 games. We've won 2 of them. And that's without what arguably a lot of people say is our best defensive midfielder. He's the sort of the engine in midfield. So we've managed to fill that void, which is probably thanks to Sean. But then due to that defeat, I think that's made Bruce make changes and then bringing Ritchie in. And we've said many, many times on here that Ritchie should be playing, if he's fit, he plays. And it's quality-wise, because he's not the quickest, but he can certainly put in a decent set play. The cross for Willock's goal there on Saturday, again, his delivery is spot on, 9 times out of 10. But it's the effort he gives you, isn't it? That's what it is, and that's what you want. And let's be fair, if he had played against Brighton, would you have seen the same type of performance? I'm not quite sure. If they had, I swear to God, he would have been going absolutely ballistic if he had been on the field. So,
this is what we've been saying for weeks, mate. We're saying that when Ritchie's on the field, if you mess up, you mess up. Unlike your captain Shelby, and Shelby, he didn't have a bad game. Of course, he didn't at the weekend. But with him as captain, if you mess up, you're not going to hear him shouting and bawling at you. Oh, yeah, it's Ritchie that's doing that. No. And you get all this on social media saying Ritchie should be our captain. Ritchie was offered the captain's armband. He didn't want it. He was offered that chance to be vice captain, I think it was, before Shelby got it. He said he didn't want it. So we can stop all that on social media. But yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
For me,
I think as well,
he's a leader without the armband, isn't he?
He is, and I've said this many times that I've played football at a decent standard. You do not have to. You can still be a captain without the armband on. Do you know what I mean? I think, and I want to comment here very briefly. I'm probably jumping ahead a bit, but Bruce said after the game that the team did everything that we said not to do in the second half. So at half time, obviously, Bruce has delivered these instructions. The players have agreed and said, no, we've got to keep on the front foot and all the rest of it. I then do question some of the leaders within the team that. You have to question that in the second half, how all of them have sat off or whatever it was. If them have discussed it half time and agreed, no, lads, we need to do the following thing, and then you go and deliver that in the second half. It's not just at Bruce's door. Yes, you can do if that makes you happy, and that's fine. But it isn't just Bruce's fault that, and I do question some of the individuals on the field for that, because you need leaders within the team. Fernandez should be doing that. Clark's experienced. Obviously, Ritchie we've just mentioned. So and also with Shelby. He got booked really early in that game, right? Really early. And he did not want to make a tackle in the second half because he'd be sent off. And for me, that was bad management because I felt he should have been taken off because he physically couldn't make a tackle because he was worried about getting sent off.
Yeah. So I thought that was really on, wasn't it? It was really early on. It was very early on, yeah. Challenge as well, which he made. Players going to the side, going nowhere. And there's a comment in there by Rob Morris. I'll come to you, Mark, after I read this one out. It says, captaincy is not all about shouting and screaming. We know that captaincy, for me, it's setting an example. Matt Ritchie sets that example for the rest of the players, and at times, majority of the time, we don't see Shelby doing that when he's wearing that captain's armband, and that's what we're getting at. We're not saying it's because he's shouting and screaming why he's some form of leader, but he is setting an example for the rest of the players. More.
Yeah, it's his attitude. He does the shouting and screaming because of the passion that he's got and the attitude that he's shown, and that if you're not, showing the same levels that he has, he's got something to say about it. But he's right. You get different kind of captains. You get those that are very, very quiet, very calm, and stuff like that. But when you think of all the great captains that have played in the Premier League and in other teams in and around, they've all had that fiery spirit about them. If you think of like the big successful teams, you can pick out players where they've had that, and it comes from a winning mentality. And like we've already said tonight, Ritchie isn't the greatest, but in his head, he's 7 foot tall. He's the world's best player because he puts himself on that pedestal and demands a lot from himself, and then that reflects in what he demands from others. So it's, I make no secret of the fact that I absolutely love him, and he's came back into the team and you just look at what he's brought in. He's got 4 assists in the last 2 games. So without him putting those balls in, we're not in the position that we are now, if having these victories behind us and pushing one. So it's of no surprise to me that him coming back into the team takes us to a different level, because that is the character that you need in a fight at the bottom of the table, and it's where we found ourselves again.
You need a mixture of everything, really. You look, there's a comment in by Kieran Bolton there that says Freddy proves that you don't need to scream. He's right. Federico Fernandez, I was screaming for him to get the captain's armband when Lascelles has been injured. I love him as a centre back. And you saw early on in the game where he goes in and clatters just Lingard. Then Lingard's quiet for the rest of the game. You don't really see much for him, and Lingard's squaring up with Fernandez, and you think, go on, try it, sunshine. Like, you're not getting past this kid. Like, and Fernandez, he doesn't even entertain it. He just looks at him, stands tall, then just walks away. And I love Fernandez, me, like Bessie. I'm not sure if you're the same.
I totally. He's one who, I mean, when we signed him, he came from Swansea. When they got relegated, didn't he? He was a free transfer, and I was a little bit like...
He was their captain as well?
I think he was, yeah. I think that's right, Mark. I was a bit underwhelmed because I didn't know that much about him. I thought he's an old, big, slow centre-half. Like, he's just going to be a bit of a lumber, and he's making up the numbers, because at the time I was centre-halves, you had Lascelles, Cher. Was Sherry there? No, he wasn't.
Lejeune was there, wasn't
he? Yeah, did we get an injury? Did we get an injury, and that's why we're signing him very late on for a free? Something happened, I'm sure, and we got him in like last minute.
It was late, wasn't it?
Do we not bring Fabian Schön and Fernandez in the same time? The same
we
window?
did, because
the same window, yeah, they did.
I'm sure something happened, and he brought him in. We brought in another defender. Someone will probably comment and say why.
Yeah, someone will tell.
But it was a bit of a shock, because it was a position we didn't really need.
Could have been Lejeune injury, could it?
Could have been Lejeune, maybe. Yeah, could have been that, actually.
We brought him in Key in around the same time, didn't we? Because he was at Swansea as well.
Yeah.
But I go back to your question, Chris. I love Fernandez, and if anything, I think he was one of the weaker performers at the weekend there. But he's just the leadership again. What about having the leaders? He's another one who I've been saying for a while now, and I still think it's a case. When they played with 5 at the back, and you had Manquillo as the wing back. And I'm sure there was another Spanish speaker dotted around there somewhere. I can't remember. Maybe Perez further. I can't remember. But like, I'm convinced that Fernandez kept Manquillo in check almost. That he was kind of directing him.
I remember you saying, Bessie. I remember podcasts in the past where you've said keep an eye on Fernandez, because he's constantly shouting at Manquillo, pulling them back into certain positions. I remember that back doing them, mate.
He's someone that I've been really impressed with over the past 3 seasons. Like. And he's been out injured this season a little bit and has missed a decent portion since Christmas. But I wish he was 10 years younger, because I'd love him to kind of. He's the kind of player that, like, I don't know. There's just something nice about him. I remember when we had the question, which player would you go on holiday with? And I says Fernandez, just because he looks like a nice lad. He'd do the dishes and that, like, and you know what I mean. You get your ready in the morning and stuff like that. I like him, mate. The £6 million, I thought he was a free. I didn't realise it was that.
He was on a free, wasn't he?
I'm sure.
Was it
6 million?
I could have sworn Fernandez's contract. I must be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But he's another one who I like. He's got a good hairline as well.
Is that how we're rating people now? I feel sorry for me and Mark if that's the case.
Me, no.
We're talking about him being cool, calm, and collective, but he's, like you just said there, Chris, with Lingard, he's got a stone cold killer within inside of him, hasn't he? He's just got to give you that look. So it still comes back to that. Like, you can be calm and cool and everything like that, but you just know that push his buttons and you're getting kicked up a height.
For me as well, about Fernandez, something that I think is really, I look at this in players a lot, is where someone might not be in the team for a long period of time, and this happened with Fernandez a while ago, where he wasn't getting the game, but when he does come in, he's instantly just slots straight in, and he doesn't look out of place. Oh, you all right, Mark, son?
You're right, Mark.
What's he doing?
He's choking, I think.
COVID. He's got COVID.
I was going to say that's a COVID cough. That, like.
Yeah, you've got a cough in the back of your arm, mate. Like, kind of.
A drink went down the wrong way there. I just choked myself. Yeah, I mean.
Wow. There's a few shouts of people saying that Fernandez would have been with Rafa at one of his previous clubs. There's a
Napoli,
shout for Napoli in there.
Yeah. Napoli, yeah.
So yeah, obviously the links there with Fernandez. Is there any other player that you want to mention from that game who stood out for yous at all?
Miggy.
Okay.
He covered every single blade of grass on that pitch.
As always. Yeah. Haven't seen it in the team.
Defensively,
we've said this for God knows how long. Haven't seen it in the team. You get the best out of Almiron. He didn't really stand out for me, if I'm being honest with you. I can't really remember.
He didn't do a load getting forward and all of that.
Just being busy, was he?
He did so much work going backwards and closing down, and defensive work for me is, and it's not what we know him for. But without having that, then we wouldn't have been, particularly in the second half when we were under that cosh. He was interrupting their play and all of that kind of thing, and that just made a big statement. But like we don't already know about what the type of character that he is. He was grafting his arse off.
The big thing I can remember him doing was right at the end when it was 2-2, when the ball, Wilson played him in and he kind of miscontrolled, the chance was gone just before it got clear off the line, and it just that little bit of composure that he hasn't quite. I'm not going to sit here and I really like Miggy, and he works hard, and he's a good footballer. You know, it's not just that he runs. He does run so far every game and covers every blade of grass, but he is a good footballer aside from that. But it's just that little bit of composure that if he had that
clinical deadly thing at the end.
Yeah. Maybe Wilson's played the ball behind him slightly, but it's just so, it's almost like watching Raheem. He's not as good a player as Raheem still, obviously, but just that little last bit in front of goalie thing. If you're a bit better than he is, there's no stopping you. Just that little bit.
Sorry, go on, Decker.
Yeah, I was going to say about composure there. I also feel Joe Linton's very frustrating like that as well. There was a moment which you'll probably remember where Wilson's through on goal, or would have been, and Joe Linton just has to bend the ball around, like just give him it. And he just balloons it over, and I was just like, I find it quite unbelievable that you could overhit it so drastically. So it's just little moments like that in the game which are very frustrating. Like,
before we go on to the winner, one of the things which I want to mention is their second goal. It comes from a penalty.
I think you're just about to say what I was just about to say, because Decker just reminded us when he said Wilson. So let's see if you are going to say what I was going to thinking.
Oh, if you're going to talk about the penalty with Spurs, then is that what you're going to go back to?
No, the West Ham one.
I'm lost. I wasn't going to say whatever you were going to say then.
Right.
What were you going to say?
I'll keep my powder dry then.
Oh, all right, okay. Pubs are back on open another.
Just don't cough all over it later.
Right. So what was I going to say? VAR gives them that penalty. Something which not a single person saw. Nobody watching saw it. Nobody on the field saw it happen. Then all of a sudden, it's gone to VAR. I think did one of our players not go down? Then that's when they started looking at VAR.
Clark was there.
Clark.
Was it Clark? Yeah, it was Clark.
Was it really that? Was it not just a Stephen Taylor thing where he's pretending?
No, he had blood. He had blood.
Yeah, his head was pissing the blood, wasn't it? It was pissing the blood. So, Mark, is that a penalty to you?
It's a harsh one, but if you're putting your arm up there, you're dicing with death, aren't you? And I know, obviously, it's their players kind of jumped up and maybe pushed his arm up a little bit, but if
I think it's the other way around, mate. I think it's the other way around. I think it's the fact that Clark is putting his hand and keeping the other player down is the fact why it's a penalty, rather than the other way around. Either way,
it's either he's not physically forcing him down though, was he? Which he's trying to get some leverage. But it's that as soon as you've got your arm up there, even without this new rule of unnatural position and stuff like that, you're opening up yourself to be able to get a decision like that. I think the only reason nobody kind of claimed it was because at the time it looked like it came off their player's head, or it just like kind of glanced off, or something like that. And it's only when you then kind of slow it down and look at it closer, you actually see that it blatantly comes off his arm. But you can understand why it's been given. It is a soft one, but it's a stupid thing to be doing, having your arm like that in the first place.
Bestie, your thoughts on it, mate?
I'm just trying to work out if my wall's really dirty or if it's my monitor screen. That's be scary, like one there. I think Mark's right there. I think it's probably a penalty. Like the way he's gone up with his arms kind of over the lad's head, isn't it?
It just seems to rest on his head for a little while, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the ball kind of comes. It's pretty much his elbow that the ball comes off. It's unlucky. I don't think he's gone up there trying to handle the ball, but it's just, Mark says, they've got the unnatural position of the arm and it being like quite far away from his body as well. It's the thing that you go for a header and you don't jump with your hands down by your side. It's a little bit unlucky, but if it's at the other end, then we're screaming for it to be given, so it's got to be a penalty, I think. Yeah.
Decker, any disagreement?
It's shite. I think it probably is a penalty, but it's shite. I think if you, I tell you what it is. If you watch Clark jump for the next 100 headers, it'll be exactly the same that he does. Every defender I've ever seen in my life that has a defender in front of him jumps up like that. Unless you want to put his arms by his side and jump, I don't know. I mean, there's no intention. There's no deliberate. He's not intentionally trying to handball it. But the rules are the way they are. It probably is a penalty, but personally, I do think it's a bit soft. Like,
I think that what the most frustrating thing is, and I think you'll probably all be in agreement with me on this one, is the fact that VAR is there, right? Okay, if that's determined a clear and obvious error by the referee, which I don't think it is, then that's when VAR is supposed to be used. You look at the week prior where Longstaff gets kicked in the face, and they determine that that's not a penalty. That's what's infuriating for me. Like,
yeah. I was going to mention that, but I thought I'd get shut down because it wasn't a handball. Like it was a different scenario. But I was going to say
it's a different scenario. But it's when VAR
it's unbelievable. Yeah, that decision isn't given, and he's been absolutely lumped in the head, and he's about 6 foot up. Let's be fair here. And then you get that given as a penalty. It's a bit shit. Like,
yeah,
the difference between those two for me was, and something that we mentioned last week, was on Saturday. The VAR said, look, there's a potential for a penalty, and they sent the referee over to the monitor to say, go and have a look at it, see what you think. Whereas the week before, they didn't do that at all. They just said, no penalty. So some guy that sat in a studio is just making that decision, isn't even taking the referee's opinion on it.
Did he not go and check last week? Did he not? I didn't even notice that. Did he not go and check?
Just didn't give it. Just played it on.
He didn't check. Did he? It was somebody else looked and then sort of radioed to him. Yeah. Do you know if Longstaff had have stayed down? Let's just say Longstaff just decided to go, right, I'm just going to just pretend I'm knocked out here almost. I wonder if that would have had any more difference, because he had a bit of a shake, but he kind of got up, didn't he?
I don't think it would have, because you look at that penalty appeal, which they got given. Nobody appeals it. Not a single player on that field appeals it. So no matter what's happening, what the players are doing on the pitch itself, that VAR, they are checking everything. So I don't think it would have made a difference. Well, like, so, Yeah.
It just gives them something else to think about, though, doesn't it? If a player's actually holding his head or something like that. But like, I thought that at the time, Decker, he just didn't seem to make anything of it, even though he'd taken a boot in the head, albeit not, he hasn't been whacked in the face, but his boot is still up there.
There's contact there.
There's contact. I mean, if that happened to Saint, Saint would still be lying there now, right?
Would have to drag him off the field, eh?
Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe if he had have laid down, the referee may have wanted to go and see it. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, really.
Too honest.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Liam, for signing up, becoming a member. Thank you very much, mate.
He said he was going to.
Is he one of your pals? Is he?
Yes, he was the one. Liam was the lad who I was at the party, and he said, "Can I just ask you, Decker, do you and Mark actually hate each other?" It was Liam.
Right.
Yes, Liam. We do.
He's a lovely lad. Top lad.
Right. Let's go and get on to the winning goal.
I was just going to say about the penalty, though.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Where we're talking about the penalty is, did you not notice, because when Decker's just said there, Wilson, how much of a shithouse yet again Wilson was when they were getting ready to take the penalty, and also Dubravka.
Yeah.
So Dubravka standing right in front of him, staring him down, but Wilson, you could see him. He's in his ear out the whole time. He's like,
the West Ham players has to come over and drag him away, doesn't he?
He gets in front of him, takes him away. It's like,
I think he goes back afterwards as well.
He was at it constantly. And
That's
Nebraska's just trying to psych him out a little bit by standing in front of the ball, giving him the eyes and all that. But I just thought that was hilarious with Wilson just being the way he is and giving them the little comments.
We've said it from day one. I love the fact that he's a shithouse. He's a shithouse that can bang the goals.
Well, that's why I thought you were going to mention it, because I know what a fan of shithouses you are. And when you started talking about the penalty, I thought that was what you were going to mention.
No, I wasn't. I completely forgot about that, mate. But thanks for reminding me. Right, so the winner, once again, Joe Willock comes on, runs around, scores a goal. Absolutely
great
fantastic.
Tactics, great management.
Honestly, absolutely, that's twice now, it's worked.
Yeah.
Do you know the other week when I was slagging off for bringing Andy Carroll on for 3-4 minutes? Bring Joe Willock on for the last 3-4 minutes every game. He's going to do that. Honestly, the ball in the box by Ritchie is pinpoint, and the fact that Willock delays his run, and does he hit it with the back of his head, the side of his head? I don't get
it. He does it backwards.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Yeah.
It's that delayed run. It's the delayed run, and he gets the power on it, and the fact that it's straight through the keeper's arms, it hits a crossbar, doesn't it? And then it's in it. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and it's great to see a player who needed to go somewhere to get game time, and when he gets his chance at Newcastle, he does well. He does do well. He offers something different in that midfield. Like I said, getting in the box late.
That's what he does do, doesn't he? You're right there. Because for me, I don't actually see much of him during the game. I've been quite critical at times of him that he kind of goes missing. Whereas we're wanting Longstaff and maybe Shelby to be on the ball and really command the midfield and sort of own it for the full 90 minutes. Where with Willock, you don't really see him on the ball much. However, what I love about him is very Gary Speed, in my opinion. In regards to arriving late in the box, that goal on Saturday is very Gary Speed for me. And it's something which I don't think you can train a lot of players to do that. You've just got to know how to do it. You know what I mean? Instinct and know when to time your run and things like that. And I mean, obviously, the two goals that he scored in recent weeks have been, one was a header and one was just kind of with his left foot, but arriving late in the box. Do you know what I mean? It's invaluable, really. It's invaluable.
You're right what you said, Declan, about he's kind of being missing, and I mean even Bruce kind of alluded to that, and that's the reason that he's been dropped for the last couple of weeks, is because he hasn't been at that level that was needed for a full 90 minutes. And let's not
that's a bit of a cop out. Let's be honest, by Bruce. That's a massive cop out when Hendrick's been having X amount of games and he's been offering absolutely nothing. That's an absolute cop out. That.
Well, I do think Willock hadn't played much either, had he? Though he hadn't played many games for Arsenal. So, and I remember that was the Brighton game, and I know you could throw them all under the bus, but I remember the Brighton game. He got pulled off after didn't get pulled off, but you know what I mean. He got taken off the field. I think about 60 minutes, and I was like, has he even touched the ball today? It was just But credit to him, though. Credit to him. He's came back and he scored some vital goals. And in fairness to us on Saturday, when it went 2-2, did you all think West Ham were going to go on to win?
I thought we hide it away. Yeah. Absolutely hide it away.
Exactly. And we did something which we normally don't do, is dig in and actually went and found the winner. And it's very, very rare we do that. So
twice, obviously, Bestie's alluded to that chance by Almiron, that falls to Murphy.
Murphy.
Teared off the line. But then it's only 2 minutes, if that. After that, we'll get a goal. So we're still going and we're still trying. Yeah. And that's what we wanted to see.
Which is why you get annoyed, because why weren't they doing that when it was 2-0? Or do you know what I mean? They almost came out in the second half and just sat back thinking we'll just see this out for the 2-0. And obviously it didn't happen that way. But thank God we stuck to the task and we'll have got the goal.
It's got to be said, mate. It was an awful second half against 10 men, 2 up. You shouldn't be getting put under that much pressure. We didn't seem to have an out ball at all. We just kind of stacked the back line.
They had 2/3 of the possession majority of that second half.
It was all West Ham. You would have honestly thought that we had the man sent off.
Definitely.
I didn't take the kind of time to count how many players they had in the pitch, but I'm assuming they had 13, 14 at one point, because we just couldn't get any kind of foot on the board. It was awful to watch. And the goals coming, I mean, they were coming, and you knew they were going to come. Was it 7 minutes between the two? As soon as I got the first one, the second one was on the cards.
I think Moyes went to the school of Steve Bruce towards the end, didn't he, and just chucked about 7 strikers on the pitch.
Sorry, Bessie, carry on, mate.
I was going to say there, Chris. Credit where it's due, just to kind of reiterate what you said earlier. When it went to 2-2, I did think, I thought, well, West Ham will win this now. It's not going to stay 3-2. It's not going to stay 2-2. But Newcastle looked far better for going. Mm-hmm. I don't know if West Ham started to sit back a little bit, or if Newcastle just thought we're throwing it away, so we've got to get something here. But it was the last 10, 15 minutes or so. Newcastle looked far better instantly.
Yeah, totally no, right. You're right. You're right, and those 3 points. It's 2 weeks in a row now where we've said crucial, massive games. Mm-hmm. And we've got, like I said earlier, that's 7 points in 3 now. And obviously with the result of Fulham, looked like they were going to win against Arsenal, but luckily the last kick of the game just about went to VAR on everything. They tried the hardest to rule that goal out, but it ended in a draw. And you could tell by not just the players' attitude, but Parker's reaction at full time that maybe they've realised now that we're not going to get out of this one. But there's that team's dropping into it now. Burnley's dropped into the mix.
Well, Bush was right all along. There was 6 or 7 teams in it, right?
yeah, they're just taking a little bit while to join.
No, but I was going to say something about Fulham there. I remember when Traore scored in the last minute and they got beat. This was maybe their last game, and I thought then they looked defeated. You got to give them some credit there. Then went to Arsenal and they were winning 1-0 for 96 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So they're not giving up necessarily either.
Dubious penalty. Massive dive that
Yeah. But thankfully for us, I mean, we've hit form at the right time, haven't we? I mean, we're only lost 1 in 7. Last 3 games have been good, and when we've needed to get the results, we're getting them. It hasn't been pretty at times. It's been horrific all season. I'm certainly not trying to say all of a sudden everything's rosy. I'm not. I'm just saying that when we've needed to pick up points, we have, and thank God we have.
Yeah, accumulating the points, I like to say.
Yeah, Mark struggles with that one, but
but yeah,
especially when Matthews Vidra scored goals.
Vidra. Is there anything else that you want to mention about that game, or shall we wrap that game up now?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a beer though.
Okay, you go get a beer. While Decker's getting a beer, there's been a few comments about pin badges, asking when people are going to be receiving the pin badges. The pin badges are getting sent out this week. So if you have ordered one, they look like this. Can't really see it.
Ooh, shiny.
There's your pin badge. It's basically just the All Smiling Faces podcast.
It's just
logo.
that there. It's that.
Yeah, it's that there.
There it is.
It's nice. It's nice at this point. Just say it's nice to be involved in a project that's actually come to fruition. Forgot the pin badges would actually deliver on something. I've got what we're doing.
We've got good form in pin badges.
But that pin badge is sexy, wasn't it? I love the way it's cut out. I keep saying it.
Nice.
So
the way the A and R
you won't be able to see is obviously you do have the gaps in certain positions as well. So
so good.
It's lovely. It's a lovely pin badge. So if you do want to buy those, if you just head over to the Always Smiling Faces podcast on Twitter account, and then just double check on there. There will be a link on there. Might be further a bit down, or if you want to go on Etsy and search for Gallowgateshots shops on that one. I know, because I already had Gallowgateshops and I forgot the password to get in. That's why I couldn't have that.
Missed that trick.
That's pretty
great, I didn't miss a trick. I signed that trick earlier, then I forgot the password, mate. So I didn't.
Even my dad wants one and he hates me.
Does he? Wow.
He doesn't hear it. I keep making that up.
I thought you really didn't want one there.
No, he definitely wants one, honestly.
But yeah, if you do want them, there's not many. I would say there's around about 100 left. So there's not many. So if you do want one, be quick. I
believe we've sold 900 already.
So yeah, if you want one, be quick. It helps us out massively. More than you'll know right now, but you'll see in the future. You'll see very, 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 very soon. Very soon, you'll find out what's going on behind the scenes. Right. Let's get down to the last 24 hours, boys. Unfortunately, we are not super enough to be part of the Super League. Where do we start with this one, boys? Obviously, it's been under the surface for a number of years now, where these clubs think they're on some sort of pedestal, and they have the right just to piss off and do whatever the hell they want. I'll come to you, Mark. Were you shocked yesterday when that news broke? Because it was rumours at first, because obviously we heard that the Champions League were reforming and they had an announcement coming. Obviously, they've gone and released their statement the night prior to the Champions League announcement. What's going on, mate?
I wouldn't say I wasn't shocked to hear that they wanted to do it. What I was shocked at was the steps that have subsequently been taken, and all of the talk that's came about them walking away from the Champions League, from leaving the ECA and stuff like that. That was the big one for me, when they basically handed in their notice and made known their intent to walk away and go to there, because, like you've just said, Chris, we've heard millions and millions of times about them wanting to do this and have this European Super League. And
I think Big Project or something was the last one. That was only a few months ago.
Big Sky or something like that, wasn't it?
Big Six. I don't know anymore.
So I wasn't surprised to hear more of them wanting to do it. I am surprised that they've taken the steps that they have this time around to almost try and force through the move and start that league off. And as I'm sure we'll come on to discuss, I think it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. Bestie, what's your thoughts on it? I think obviously everyone is outraged by it, really. Not just fans of all the other clubs, but fans of those 6 Premier League teams feel as if they're turning their backs on their supporters, to the point where, what do they call them? Legacy fans. They're being muted as
legacy fans. That's us, yeah.
So legacy fans, and now they're looking towards the overseas fans, basically.
That's the long and short of it, isn't it? I think future fans was the term I saw. It's a shame. The thing is, though, it's something that I think the way football's been going over, you could say, since the Premier League, so what's that, 1992, since Sky got involved, the Champions League became what it is, the league format and whatnot. And they're just throwing money at the World Cup's becoming 30, or was it 64 teams in the World Cup in a few years' time? It's just the way football's going, and I think this kind of thing happening was pretty much inevitable, where like travel's cheaper than it was, and you've got like kind of you can stream games, and you can have like I'll know that NFL's a kind of, I'm assuming the NFL model's pretty much the type of thing they're going to go for, where they can kind of self-manage the broadcasts. It become effectively a closed shop. So FIFA 2003 had a European Super League in it, which had pretty much the same teams. So it's something that's kind of been I dare say it's been mooted for a long time. I wasn't shocked by it, because I think it's something that's inevitable. I don't think it has to happen, but I think it's just going to happen. It's just such a shame when you look at. I've seen Liverpool fans on Twitter today, Arsenal fans, Tottenham fans, pretty much the whole lot, who are totally against it. It's kind of. I think Jamie Carragher made the point on Monday Night Football. Liverpool have won the Champions League 6 times, and that's a huge part of their identity, if you want to call it that. You know, the kind of, you've got Benitez, Klopp, Shankly, managers that have won it, and to then take a move that would preclude them from playing that anymore is just it's awful. It really is poor, and it's again, Carragher made the point as well. It's not Liverpool Football Club. It's not the kind of bricks and mortar. It's not the fans. It's not the players, the manager, the coaching staff. It's Gillette and Hicks, and it's Man United, Glazer, and it's Abramovich, and it's Shape One. So you know, it's not that Manchester City Football Club and all the colour light blues now. It's the owners of the clubs who have just kind of totally who appear to want to make a completely clean break with the whole kind of. To me, the whole ethos of professional football, I make the point every week on this podcast. I say Grimsby fans will want to be in the Champions League. And that's because Grimsby fans theoretically could one day be in the Champions League, because they could get promoted, finish in the top, you know, if things went right for them. Grimsby Town could never be in this league, or could never be a permanent fixture in this league, because it's a closed shop. It stops that kind of the competition. You've got 15 clubs, 12 that we know about and 3 to come, that if things go ahead will always be in this league, and could not. So Tottenham could, at some point, because of how football is, one of them will get relegated in the Premier League. You know, there's fair chance that there could be Spurs because they're up and down at the minute. Or you never know. It just happens that, over the length of time. And what happens then? You've got someone like who's in the Championship at the minute. Brentford, let's say. You've got someone like Brentford who are in this European Super Duper tournament who aren't good enough to be in the Premier League. But then I'm going to contradict myself. The money they're going to get so outrageous that those people buy their way out of any kind of trouble. So it just goes it's a very rich, I think, of the Premier League, of UEFA, and I dare say other football authorities around the world to be up in arms and say, well, it's a disgrace of what the fans can't stand for this, because they've done exactly the same thing. The only reason that they're unhappy about it is because they aren't in on it. They're not going to get the money. Yeah. The same as Newcastle have said today, it's been said in the Chronicle, Newcastle are very much against it. You can bet your bottom dollar if Newcastle were the 7th club, if for 7 clubs we own them, they'd be all for it. It's because it's football's, it stinks, man. It absolutely stinks. It goes far beyond the 6 teams in this European Super League. Sorry, it's not European, is it? The Super League. It goes miles beyond that. Football's in a horrible, horrible state at the minute. And it's this happening now, to me, is just another symptom of what's wrong with football. There's too much money. There's too much greed.
Yeah.
The interesting thing you've just said there, Bestie, is that around the fact that, if Newcastle were the 7th team, you go back and we've mentioned this loads and loads of times, but you look at the trajectory that since Mike Ashley's came into this club, the trajectory that we've been on versus Spurs, we've passed each other like that. And now, we're sitting down at the bottom, not making any money. Spurs have done nothing. But because they're generating a massive revenue because of the way that the ran off the field and the success of being up towards the top of the table, they've kind of snuck in the back door into this just on that revenue side of things, because they do make an absolute fortune. You go back, well, we all know 13 odd years ago now, and they were nowhere near that. Absolutely nowhere near that. So. It could have been us had things have been different. Would it have changed my opinion on it? Absolutely not.
Yeah. Degger, I'll come to you. Obviously, like Mark said at the very start there, the snowball effect which this has caused is phenomenal. Something which I've never seen before in any sort of sporting event and things like that, where you've got statements coming out from the Premier League, from UEFA, basically saying, if these teams go ahead with their Super League, then we will look into blocking those from any sort of tournament. So Premier League, Champions League, they're talking about booting the 2 Premier League teams that are left in there out of the competition. They're also saying any professional player who plays in this Super League will not be able to play international football. I put this on social media earlier on, is now we see the backbones of these players. Every single player that does an interview, if you ask them the question, what is your most memorable moment in football? What's your favorite moment in football? They all say getting picked to play for their team, their home country, their international team, and wearing those colours and representing their country. Let's see what happens. Let's see if money talks, Decker. Because if you think they're on a big slum of money now, imagine what they're going to be on in this Super League.
Well, yeah, I think if you ask, I'll try and pick a young player now. So let's say Phil Foden, right? He's playing with his mates only maybe a few years ago, right? In the street. I don't think his dream was to play in the Super League. His dream would have been representing Man City in representing his country, and I would say that's for a lot of players. What I would say very briefly, it's already been covered by used to and many other people. It's all greed. It's all about money. For me with football, it's about competitiveness. You know what I mean? And as a player, having that competitiveness of we need to, strive to not get relegated, or we need to strive to be in the top 4 to get to the elite level. This particular competition just doesn't have any of that. So Tottenham, for example, how on God's name they're in there, I don't know, but they are. They're just going to be 15th and 15th every single year. Every single year, they're just going to get humped game after game after game. And if you're happy with that, then crack on. Of course it will be. Of course it will be. And it'll be hilarious and it'll be funny. But I don't understand why a player would want that. Obviously goes back to Chris's point about money, of course. I do get that. What I would also say, though, is some of the things that have came out now from UEFA very, very quickly, meaning, kicked out the Champions League, players can't play it nationally. I don't think it'll go ahead. Yeah. That's my honest opinion. I know they may have signed things or whatever they've agreed.
Do you think the Super League won't go ahead, or the other bodies won't go ahead with their threats?
I just don't think you could get a squad of players that are willing to accept them rules. Harry Kane and people like that's not going to sacrifice playing for their country. Like I really don't, and I just don't think it'll happen. And I mean, it might do. I'm just thinking out loud here that I just can't see, with all these stipulations that UEFA's very rightly so as well thrown out there. I just can't see it happening. Me like, and also sorry to interrupt.
No, sorry,
I didn't know this until I read the statement properly. Was that their first sort of ask was, we'll play these games midweek and we'll still play in the Premier League on a Saturday. How cheeky is that, by the way? But I didn't. That's what they wanted to have, the cake and eat it, didn't they? Really? Obviously, the Premier League rightfully have said if you want to go, you need to go. But
yeah, there was one of the presenters on Sky Sports News earlier today saying that there was a member of the boardroom had leaked information. They didn't say which boardroom it was, but basically saying that what he understands from this board member is that these super clubs, these top 6 clubs, will look at the Premier League as a second competition to them. Similar to what we'd do with cups at the moment, where they'll field the weekend side in the cup. It'll be the opposite. So they'll field the weekend side for the Premier League games, and they'll field the stronger side for this super. What's it called? The Super what?
Super League.
What a shit name as well.
Now, if you think of the teams that are in it as well, I mean, you've got Barcelona's accepted. They're in £1 billion worth of debt, right? So there's one of your reasons. Inter Milan, I'm sure them owning another club and they've had to sell it because the owner can't afford it. So they're in a bit of a sticky situation. The English clubs, to be fair, probably don't need the money, but they're just greedy. I mean, Daniel Levy's the most greediest guy you could imagine. Abramovich doesn't care who hates him; he just wants money. So it's just corruption, isn't it? It just feels like so much corruption, and I hate this closed circle. I hate that business of this is the boys' club, and you aren't allowed in, or we'll let you know if you're allowed in. That's what annoys us more.
The thing I don't get is they have this pre-season tournament anyway, International Cup or whatever it's called, where it's basically this tournament. It's basically this the Super League thing. But they do it why not? Are they not happy? They play Real Madrid every year. They play Inter Milan every year, or Barca, or they do it. They actually do it with the same.
All the time in the Champions League. That's what the Champions League is.
This tournament as well. The league table thing works on how the Champions League one's going to work. The Swiss, whatever it's called, the Swiss, where you've got just one big league and you play some of the teams and you kind of work into that. This tournament's got all those teams in. It's got that. It's just money. It's all it is. Like, and Decker made the point there. It might be Mark, sorry, about how the Premier League's going to be secondary to these clubs, and that totally devalues the Premier League. It devalues the FA Cup. It devalues the League Cup.
Everything.
It devalues everything right. Especially in England, where we've got the pyramid. It devalues everything right the way down, because then. I mentioned Grimsby. Like I follow South Shields as well. I'm a Shields lad. I know all the handsome lads in this group are. And like South Shields are on this thing where they've got their project at the minute, and South Shields' project or their ambition is to get into the Football League, and that's kind of at the moment the limit of it. But what's to say when they get there, they don't think, oh, well, why not see if we can get up? I mentioned Grimsby earlier, the same thing. That ambition is being the chance to do that's being taken away because Martin Glazer wants a few more quid in his back burner. And
what I also think, and you've mentioned some clubs there, South Shields, for example, and your Grimsby's, I'm a massive thing about the football pyramid in regards to what the big clubs can support. Grassroots football, League One, League Two, whatever it is. Just don't support Sunderland, let them rot. But anyone else, help them. But with these clubs leaving or perhaps moving on, what damage will that have? The money filtering down into these lower clubs.
Do you not think that this will be part of their bargaining chip, where there'll be a little bit of a kickback from these clubs to come back into these leagues?
They've mentioned something about that, haven't they? Because that was one of the big things. Is that because you look at the teams now? We're already losing teams in the Football League as it stands.
I mean, it's going to be even worse when things go back to normal, because
it shouldn't be the case, It shouldn't be the case.
Hartlepool have gone into it. Darlow's gone into it.
Well, let's just look at it. Let's just look at this model. Can you get any worse timing to announce something like this? Mid-season,
this is the
in
thing,
a global pandemic where clubs are going out of business left, right, and centre, and these bellends have decided, let's do it now, lads. Let's just piss on everybody's chips.
And that's what it is, and it proves that this select, however many people having these little cloak and dagger meetings, if you like, they just do not care, do they? They do not care about me and you or the file, anyone. They just care about lining their pockets.
But what I do want to see is that it's it's not just these 6 teams from the Premier League. It's not just their fault. We've got to remember. And
3 Spanish teams and 3 Italian teams in there as well.
Well, not just that, but obviously we're Premier League. We'll support Premier League clubs, so we're going to focus on those 6 teams. Is that for God knows how many years and how many seasons now, it's always been about the top 6. Whether you look on your media channels, if you look on your TV channels, if you look on your radio stations, every time you turn on, you know for fine well it's going to be top 6, top 6, top 6. And I mentioned it earlier. We're going to a game on a Sunday, and we get 5 minutes before kickoff of coverage, a tiny little glimpse, because the build up to that, the half an hour before that is for the later kickoff. Then it comes to half time at our game. What is it? It's not highlights of what's happened in the first half. It's more predictions for the later game. And what happens at full time? Nothing. Straight onto that game once again. They don't give a shit about the other 14 teams. They don't. And that's across the board. They'll sit there, they'll wind us up because they know they're going to get interaction from us. But it's down to them as well. And you've got the likes of the TV station, the radio stations kicking off right now. But they're part of this problem as well. Massively part of this problem.
Oh, definitely. I do think it'll happen, and I think it'll probably be pretty successful. But you look at kids. I mean, I don't want to go into a kids these days type of rant because I'm not that kind of bloke. Right? But like, you look at kind of what's the most popular mode on. Let's say FIFA. The most popular thing on FIFA is Ultimate Team, where you build a team of superstars and you're going. And kids aren't that bothered aren't as bothered as certainly I was when I was little about going to watch Newcastle, or going to watch Sunderland, or going to watch Borough, or Hartlepool, Darlington. It's South Shields even, you know what I mean? Kids just don't, they want to, you'd go to, I don't even know, you'd go down to the beach or something, how many kids you see in Man City shirts or Liverpool shirts or, like, we had it, when I was at school, we had maybe 4 or 5 kids that didn't support Newcastle Sunderland, and they were, who weren't at football, and they were like, it was, why don't you support, what's wrong with it? And now it's, I suppose, at least I anticipated that it's more kind of normal now, so... I think
the problem FIFA have said as well, Bestie, that all them players and all the teams will be wiped off FIFA games as well. I know it's a ridiculous argument here, but they've said they're not going to be on it.
I think the problem that we'll have is us as parents, the 4 of us as parents, we're diehard Newcastle United fans. Of course we are. So obviously our kids are going to grow up to support the team that we do. They don't have a choice in the matter. Let's be honest with you. But it's probably the kids that are going through school where the parents don't follow football. There's no relatives that follow football. So the friends watch football. And that's how they get into the sport. You know for fine well, they're not going to pick their local team. They're not. They're going to look at this Super League and they're going to look at these and think, I want to support that team because they're the best team. It's the way that kids work. They want to support the best team. So,
but you say that, but I mean, the uproar though, mate, from the fans. I mean, even like look, Liverpool. They've said that for our game against Liverpool, every flag is going to be taken out of the cup. Like it's going to be bare. And like it seems to be every fan is against the decision. So I feel. I mean, are we now saying then that if it goes ahead, eventually they'll just learn to accept it, and then all of a sudden the Super League's the best ever? Because I feel like some fans are literally so turned off by it that their loyalty to the club's gone. At the moment, maybe that's just
I think a lot of the fans that they want to attract, and I think this is the kind of distinction that they're trying to make between legacy fans and I think future fans. I think, as I say, was that future fan is like, when the NFL rocks up and goes to Tottenham, for instance, let's say, because we both done that, and they go and they'll buy they'll buy a period shirt or a Steelers shirt, or whatever. If they've got the NFL shop there, they'll do. And I think that's more like what they're trying to do. Like not making a roadshow necessarily, but they want to get fans in who wouldn't necessarily normally go to a game, maybe. So someone who'll go to Liverpool, or if that, you can bet your bottom dollar, if they do this, they'll end up having. Remember the 39th game for a few years ago?
Premier League were looking at that, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right. You can guarantee what happens. Same like the NFL, how they do the games in Mexico City or London or Munich or whatever, where they'll have a game in Beijing or in Tokyo, and it'll be another way of getting revenue in it, or get the Japanese lads in. They'll buy our shirts. They'll drink our beer. That'll follow. I've got no doubt about it. It's all about making money, and it's so cynical. It's just really sad. Like, and I worry about because people are going to watch it. Give it 10 years or so, get a little bit in, and people will. I mean, I'll probably watch a game here and there. I'll still be a Newcastle fan. I'll keep my season. Well, I'll probably keep my season ticket as long as Ashley fucks off. But
so if them left, what's your thoughts on that? Then, if they left, let's say it all went ahead, and obviously them on in that division, in our division. Sorry, it really does devalue our product, doesn't it? It really does, doesn't it?
I think we'll lose a lot of TV money. We'll lose a lot of TV money, which leads to clubs like maybe Newcastle less so because of how we're run, but someone like Burnley, who had Burnley had a massive turnover of wages compared to their income, from the TV money.
Yeah,
teams will be in big trouble in the Premier League and below. Like Championship, League One. Look, Sunderland have had 2 buyouts since they went down to League One because they were skinned. They were absolutely knackered off the Premier League.
Do you not think fans will get bored of it if it's the same teams over and over again? I remember watching El Clasico years and years ago and loving it. And when it's on now, I won't even put it on because it's the same shite every single time now.
Where's the competition? Where is the competition? Because
this is
you're sitting in there. How are you going to... You can't go in there as a Spurs and Arsenal, and even you can chuck Chelsea in there as well. Man United. There's only really Man City that are at that top level. Liverpool have gotten themselves in there and been successful in the Champions League. But these are one-off games. This isn't a league table where you've got to be playing all of these different teams. And if it comes to a point where they aren't playing in their domestic leagues, and then it is just going, and then maybe things will even out a bit. But you just can't see how that can happen, because you look at that and you think the best teams there are surely it's Real, it's Barca, and Man City. But equally, you've got Atleti sitting up at the top of their table and pushing them. So
the reason why it'll fall on its arse, in my opinion, is there's no competitiveness there. So after 5 or 6 games, Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool, maybe they'll know they can't win that league. So there's no point in coming second. There's no point in coming third. There's no point that you come bottom. There's no difference if you come bottom. So after 6, 7, 8, 10 games, there's nothing to play for.
The thing is, it's not one league of 50. It's 2. It's going to be 2 groups of 10 with the top 4 from each one go through a playoff. So there's still going to be stuff to play for quite late on. And I honestly don't like it.
But you like it.
No, I really don't. I got talk all night about things I think are wrong with it. I mean, on a competitive level, on a societal level, to go into kind of what I think could happen to professional football as a whole. You could probably say goodbye to 4 professional divisions in England, I think, if it happens. But I think there'll be an appetite for it, and I'm going to go back to, and I know it's not the same thing, but you play FIFA, you go online, you're always playing against Barcelona, you're always against Real Madrid, you're always against 1 of 5 or 6 clubs, because people, maybe it's kids, maybe it's, I don't know, but they want to be Real Madrid, they want to be Barcelona, they are the big kind of, the golden chip, the big ones. Again, I'll go, we'll watch NFL, and it's not a dissimilar model really to that, apart from the 5 teams that come and go. It's a very, Adam's made the point here, it's a carbon copy of their franchising, where like, I'm a Pittsburgh man,
which I do love.
I do as well, mate.
You love it because you're not involved in it. That's the problem.
Well, that's true.
But you're still playing against teams that are in your country and are on. Yes, not all of the teams are at the same level, but you'll play in one division versus your East and West and all of that kind of thing, and then come together at the end of it. But you're not playing every Tom, Dick, and Harry and getting rid of those domestic fixtures to fulfill something else. That's what the Champions League's done. Besty's just been saying there, as an idea, the format of it and everything like that sounds very good and will increase competition. So why not just introduce that for the European games? Why not structure the Champions League like that?
But is this not what international football is about? Is this not what international football is, where the best players go and represent them? Or is it just now a case where we'll just go and buy the best players?
It's money, mate. It's all about money.
It's basically FIFA Ultimate Team, isn't it? Like you say, that's what it is.
And I go back to the NFL thing I was saying earlier. I follow Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers play Cleveland, Baltimore, and Cincinnati twice every year, because that's just they play 16 games every season before the playoffs. New England play against the Jets, the Bills, and someone else shite every year because the Patriots are fucking wankers. Is that I'll tell you. And it even with that, and you know that the Patriots are going to stuff these 3 teams in the conference most years, not this year so much, but like people still watch it in their droves. People still all over the world, people watch it. And if Liverpool play Real Madrid twice every year, to me it loses some of its luster, because I think like there was a talk of making the World Cup every 2 years a few years ago. I don't think it was ever realistically kind of a proposal. but it was talked about, and I thought I'd hate that. I love the World Cup. I'm absolutely mad on the World Cup, but like I don't want it to be. What's one of the really special things about it is that it's every 4 years, and that you've got to have 2 years of qualification to get to it, and then it's this big festival thing at the end of it. This will be a bit more Covent Garden, but the last 60 in the Champions League, I'll watch it every year, and I must have watched Barcelona play PSG 100 times now. Liverpool, and I'll still watch it every time. So I don't like this at all. But I honestly think there'll be an audience for it. I think it'll be very successful, wildly successful. My problem with it isn't that. I mean, I don't like the lack of. If it was a thing that you had to qualify for, well, we've got that with Champions League. The Champions League, it's not perfectly fine, but it works, you know. But yeah, the fact that teams can't just qualify for it. I mean, there's going to be 15.
Well, I've said 5 teams can, mate. There's five teams can qualify. I don't, based on what I'm not quite sure. Maybe win their league. I'm not sure about.
What that sounds like to me, that sounds like pure bully tactics. That just seems like if you look at your typical school dinner hall where you've got the cool kids sitting on one table, the top 6 and these 12 teams think they're the cool kids and thinking, right, these are the kids. We'll see if they want to come join us. That's exactly what it is. Where the cool kids are never going to get removed from the table.
What they're saying there, though, and again, of course, we don't know how it's going to work, right? But if they're saying there's going to be 5 opportunities for other teams to qualify to join the Super League, but if you then join the Super League, surely that's the Premier League, folks, because you've got to say Toronto Premier League to join that.
Yeah. So where do you qualify from to get in this league?
I don't quite understand how that would work either. But
that's a good point. I've not even thought about that. So where are you qualifying to get into this league? Money?
I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't know.
That's how Spurs.
Like an horse, I don't know.
Highest bidder. It's the highest bidder.
Spurs have got in through
but
money.
The one thing I would say, though, right, in my opinion, in regards to, I know a lot of people have said, you know, it's up to the fans, it's up to this. Gary Neville has been incredibly passionate the last couple of days. I mean, on his own podcast for Martin Tyler, I think it was so raw. His emotion was coming across even more, which is fantastic. I love that. And tonight there, you're seeing Carragher, you're seeing Neville. It does seem that every single person is against this, and everyone's trying the best, you know, to not give in. But whether or not
you're right, what you're saying, Decker. Right now, they seem against it. Let's see when the super company broadcasting rights go. Let's see who goes knocking on the doors of these pundits. Let's see if they accept the jobs. Let's see if the commentators move across. Let's see if the pundits move across.
Well, it's a good option there, because can you then imagine that if all them teams went, you've got Gary Neville every single week here having to talk about Burnley, Newcastle, Leicester. I think he'll get tired of that. Do you know what I mean? Because he'll want to talk about Man United, he'll want to talk about Man Cities and all the rest of it. So I agree with what you're saying. Yes, it could get very boring very fast. But we might be in the Premier League though, in some one time before we die. So you never know if they did fuck off.
Well, if they get kicked out, we've already won it twice.
Yeah.
No, four or 5 times, isn't it?
Yeah. So I just want to ask you then. So, Bestie, do you think it's going to go ahead?
I'll tell you what. It's the as far as I'm concerned, it's the biggest change to professional football probably in 100 years. It's bigger than the Premier League. It's a totally different beast, because the Premier League was just it was the same teams playing for effectively the same thing. But do I think it's going to go ahead?
They just added a domestic league for the Premier League, didn't it? That's all that it was.
That's all it was, yeah.
Basically, it was an extra. It wasn't a closed shop like the Premier League. We were the first team to qualify for it effectively.
Well, this is a problem for Americans. They don't understand the point in relegation and promotion. They just kind of figure it out in their heads.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know. There's some. I dare say there'll be some American fans watching this that'll be all right with that. Like, to be honest with you, like, but
sorry if I've offended all Americans.
You know
what I meant by that.
Yeah. That's what our football is, isn't it? Our football is about relegation, promotion, qualification for something else. Do you know what I mean?
Which it should be as well. I mean, imagine if there was no relegation from the Premier League, we'd just be seeing out the games. We wouldn't. That Isaac Hayden's goal against Chelsea, I was going about, like the Willock one the weekend there. There would have been no point in them. They might as well not happen, because
you're right, yeah.
There's no, there's no
absolutely
no peril, no risk. Do I think it'll go ahead? It's going to be very interesting. Like, I've got a feeling it will. I think it will, but I think like you might see FIFA in particular kind of back down on their stance about
working
World Cups and internationals, because I think they'll get a sniff of the money as well.
Yeah.
Far be it for me to accuse FIFA of only working for money, like, but.
I think if they don't go ahead, okay, so if it does, like you think there, that it probably won't go ahead. If it doesn't, these teams still need to be made an example of.
Absolutely right.
Because they've been going behind closed doors, doing this behind everybody's back, and now they've came along, just decided to piss over the full footballing pyramid and literally burn it to the ground. There could be a huge downfall in domestic football if this goes ahead. So if they back out at the last minute, they have to be made accountable. Have to be.
I totally agree there.
You're saying that about going behind backs. You know, they're going behind the backs of their own managers and players because they didn't even know about it. This is the owners that are making this decision without even contemplating and having a discussion with the players and the managers. And obviously we've seen Klopp tonight have an opinion on it. Look, he's not going to stand there and slag it off as much as we might want him to and expect him to do, because
there's one manager going to do it.
Still employs it. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. He was in a tough situation tonight, to be fair. I did expect more, but he was in a tough situation.
I did expect him to be a bit more opinionated on it, but he's got to be careful. And again, that's a key bit of thing is we haven't seen any of the players or staff that work for these clubs come out and talk about it. Like Harry Kane's came out today and tweeted about Jose and getting the bullet and thanking him for his time, but he's never mentioned that every single reply to his tweet is about the Super League.
Players won't say anything, mate, until they figure out what they're going to get from this.
I would like to think, I was talking to Chris Wilson on Twitter about this earlier, and I was disappointed with Klopp because I think, to me, if you're going to stop this, or if you're going to have if you're going to almost make an example of the owners and the behaviour, then it's got to come from the likes of Jurgen Klopp.
Them out. Yeah, 100%.
And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the managers, Solskjaer, Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea, etc., Pep and that. I don't agree. I think he could have gone in there all guns blazing to that. Totally disagree. And if he gets sacked, he gets sacked. Like, Jurgen Klopp could afford to get sacked. Jurgen Klopp gets sacked from Liverpool. He can walk into any other job in the world outside of this 15 or 20, whatever. He could walk in there. He could go back to Dortmund. He could go to Newcastle, no bother. He could walk into any other job in the world and maybe he's not get the same money as he get at Liverpool. But I've seen people say he was between a rock and a hard place, and I really don't think he was. All I can think, and what I really hope, is that he's been told by maybe the PFA or some representative body, hold back because we're going to put a statement out together that all managers are going to countersign. We've got professionals going to oppose it, and that's my real hope. Is that because of Klopp is, like I said, if there was one manager that you think is going to have an opinion on this and fall on the right side, it will be Jurgen Klopp.
Well, he has before, hasn't he? Before,
2 years ago, mate.
He went to town, big time went to town and was like, it's a disgrace, should never happen, blah, blah. And then obviously when the nitty-gritty comes down to it, he was very wishy-washy tonight. He was flapping his gums and he was getting almost sort of tongue-tied.
I think there's lots more to come, isn't there? There's definitely lots more to come over the coming days. Obviously, the remaining 14 clubs are meeting tomorrow morning. And Steve Parrish was on Monday Night Football there tonight. And
terrible. Shocking.
What did he say? I missed that. What did he say?
No, shite.
Nothing major. Just.
I've got no confidence. I've got no confidence with someone like that being in the meeting, because I was thinking it was Neville said, "Well, what was it?" He
going to get on the knees, mate. Going to get on the knees.
They are, and Neville said, "Like,
beg them to stay."
I've called the Glazers this. So, what would you call them? And he just totally deflected the question. So to me, it means tomorrow when he goes into this meeting, he'll just be on his knees.
Said that the UEFA president called him a snake.
That was it. That was it.
Called him a snake, and he said, "What would you call him?" Yeah,
and he just totally blanked the question. And Daniel Levy was banging on the door. You could hear a doorbell going every 5 seconds on the
phone. Was ringing constantly, wasn't it?
Phone was ringing all the time. It was just awful. And it's them types of chairmans or owners where I think when you're in that meeting, I've just got no faith in you doing the right thing. Because Carragher called him out from minute one. Minute one called him out.
Go full circle on this one, because we know the only reason that the other Premier League club owners are kicking off about this is because they haven't got an invite. And there's not money going in their pocket.
Well, it affects their piece of pie, doesn't it? It affects their piece of pie that's left in, and I get that. I do get it.
The only ones who've got a decent stance on this one, by the looks of it, are the fans of those football clubs, the true fans. What did they call with Bestie? The legacy fans. The legacy fans, the ones that they're about to just push to one side for the new wave of fans. They're the only ones right now.
Isn't it? That's just so upsetting, that, isn't it? That really is bullshit. That Awful.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Like Parish will have been on the fence. He'll have been a little bit kind of ambivalent about things because he wants his invite. He wants. He's hoping that one day Crystal Palace, and why wouldn't he?
Palace
that,
are never. How are Palace ever going to break into that?
They could do. Leicester did. Leicester won the league. Leicester.
I think the problem is it's not breaking into the Super League, Mark. It's far from breaking into the Super League. But without these 6 teams in the Premier League, then there's money coming out of the rest of our pockets and the rest of the club's pockets. That's the problem. It's not the Super League. It's the fact that these 6 teams are the money makers in the Premier League. No matter what you say, no matter which team you support, you know for fine well these are the money makers. These are the ones that bring the TV deals in, and the license and things like that. And without those, I hate to say it, but the rest of the team, the rest of the league suffers. And it pisses off even more when you've got fans sitting there with a smug face on the look. Sorry, what? Smug look on the face.
Smug look on their face.
Smug look on the face and saying the Premier League need us. They need us. Like, no, this is not a time to gloat about this sort of thing. This is a time for you to take a stance, along with every other football club, not just Premier League, every other football club. We need to take a stance on this now. And every fan, we're at loggerheads internally with Newcastle United fans. Never mind everybody else coming together. But I think this might be the one which
seems to be
joining forces.
Yeah. I think you'll see that, Chris. I think you'll see, like I'm not going to say what I think the trust should do, our trust should do, but I think you'll see fan groups unifying with other like rivals, like example Newcastle, Sunderland, Man City, Man United fan groups, and really pushing something out there because it's. I don't really like how the onus always is put on the fans, but it is. Like Shell mentioned it in our chat earlier on, and I do firmly believe that the managers, players. And I think someone mentioned James Milner's come out in opposition to it earlier on there. It's going to take a big push to try and get it put back. And that's something I think fan groups have got to really do, have to come together and kind of unify. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a really, really interesting few days, weeks. Because, I mean, from the reports yesterday, I mean, it exploded last night, didn't it? I was in bed. I'd watched Line of Duty. I was ready to get the Zeds in, and all of a sudden, my phone's going mad.
I had to switch off. Like I had to get to the point where put the phone on one side, turn it away, go to bed because it was non-stop, wasn't it?
I was too drunk. I couldn't read the statement. Honestly, I was in the pub trying to read the statement, and the words were just shooting up and down. I was like, I need to put my phone down. I couldn't focus. So it wasn't until
what we need now,
the day where I've read it,
I think we'll call this one night. We'll wrap this one up. But I think what we need now, as much as we sit here and say fans need to do something, it shouldn't always be up to the fans. I'm sick of it always being up to the fans to do something. Now it's up to the managers. It's up to the coaches. It's up to the players to make a stance on this one.
It's up to the government bodies as well.
Yeah, I'm literally fed up of everybody expecting the fans to do everything for them. No, take responsibility yourselves. You tell your employers that you're not happy with the way
I'm glad Milner spoke out about it, because that, as I've just been saying there, that for me is what's missing. The players and manager and staff from these clubs speaking out on it. So if he's came out and said that tonight, then fair play to him. And I want to see more of that. I want to see the likes of Harry Kane, who is,
Fernandez, was Bruno Fernandez at that, put something on his Instagram story earlier.
Yeah, he did.
Money, wasn't it? Yeah. Can't buy something or whatever. Yeah. But Milner's quote, I haven't listened to it, right? I've only seen one word literally go across the screen.
Just say he doesn't agree with it, apparently.
Yeah, but he can say that, absolutely. But when Liverpool then turn around and say, sorry, James, we're actually doing it. Oh, okay then, right. Well, I'll see you on Sunday then. Like, what you need these players to, at some point, really, really dig the heels in. Do you know what I mean? Well,
that's why
everyone can say they're against it. Like, it doesn't.
And with all the respect in the world to James Milner, he's like 36, 37. His
career's not going anywhere.
You want a young lad, like you want someone like Messi or like a superstar, or someone like Marcus Rashford, who's kind of renowned, who's made stands in the past, who appears to be intelligent young man who can go, right, he has why this is a bad idea. And that's what gets a lot of fans on side. I've just had a quick look there. Leeds have drawn Liverpool tonight, and Leeds had a bit of a pop at the Super League thing in that tweet. And there's Liverpool fans going, now, what we're a Super League side, they dry our eyes and all that. And it's like, fuck, that's pathetic. And you're going to get that anyway, like, because people are fucking want that sometimes. But
you can guarantee that they're tourist Liverpool fans. They're the Liverpool fans that aren't from Merseyside.
I should really say it. That's not. I suspect isn't. I know it's not the kind of overwhelming opinion of all Liverpool fans. It's just this one. Like it's. I know I've seen Liverpool fans today.
Put a very strong flag up, didn't they, the day outside saying RIP Liverpool, like from the date they were sort of established to now, 2021, which was a really very, very big statement. And and good on them, do you know what I mean? But as Chris mentioned there, and he's right, that fans can only do so much, and it always seems to be left at the fans' door. Fans need to do this, you need to do that. No, not necessarily. Like, well, of course, we're not happy about it, but it comes to your pundits, your ex-professionals, your staff, your coach, your players, the governing bodies have to step in place and do what. And in fairness, I would say UEFA and things like that have been trying. Certainly today, you'll be kicked out of Champions League by Friday. That's what we want. You need full-on statements of intent like that. You'll not play for your national side if you don't.
Well, apparently Sky have just released a statement. I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it anyway. So people watching, before we wrap it up, we'll quickly go through it. So if somebody wants to tag us in it, tag the Gallowgateshots account on Twitter, and I'll quickly read it out there. I can't find anything there, even though people are saying that it's kicking off on Sky Sports and they've released a statement. I'm not sure what Sky Sports have got to release a statement about, like.
The fans that you're saying there, I think the way, particularly after this season that we've had, the last year that we've had, have fans not suffered enough? We haven't been able to go and watch our team. We haven't been able to get into the grounds to see us play, and they're taking that away from us. Even more so by not allowing us to compete against all of the teams, not to be able to have that ambition to go up the table and stuff like that. It's taken away hope, and then you look at it. Germany, for instance, you've had they've knocked it back, and that for me is somebody that is a country, and certainly the way that they run their football teams, where they put fans at the heart of everything that they do over there, with them having obviously fan ownership and representation on the board, by having the reduced price of the tickets, and wanting to encourage all of that fan engagement and encourage all of the fans in to be part of the club. And it's of no surprise to me that they've turned around and said, I don't want to do that, because they've got the fans' interests at heart, whereas clearly the 6 teams in England haven't, and likewise three Italian and 3 Spanish clubs.
Right, I've got the statement from Sky. Thanks, Ian, for sending that across. So the Sky statement reads: in the last 24 hours, Sky Sports has passionately articulated that the views of football fans on the importance of preserving and sustaining the whole football pyramid. We are currently focused on supporting our long-term football partners in the United Kingdom and in Europe, already providing fans with the best live action for the best football competitions in the world, and we have not been involved in any discussions with the proposed breakaway European Super League. That's obviously in connection to the likes of the TV deals that will come on the back of that. For fine well, it's going to be Saudi that are going to be massively involved with any sort of TV broadcasting. But
if that was the case, then again, surely the impact of that potential takeover from us would have a big bearing on it. The big 6, so-called big 6, were massively against us being taken over because they didn't want us to gate crash the party.
Because for fine well, this has been going on, mate. The Morstars came out apparently and said that the Big 6 didn't have any involvement. I call bullshit on that now. Massive bullshit.
We all know they did. All of the press releases and everything states
this has been going on behind the scenes, and for fine well, if this Super League was in the planning and Newcastle United were owned by Saudi and we were going to be the richest club in the world, they'd want us to be a part of that.
Yeah,
definitely. We pissed on one of their parties, and one of those would have been left to one side. That's it. There's something not right. There's something definitely not right, and they've had a massive input. I'm not saying that's the reason why the takeover wasn't approved, but something's happened that we aren't aware of.
I think MBS wasn't the knight in shining armor. Didn't help the situation. To be really honest with you, but I totally agree with what you're saying. One thing I do want to mention before you go is what you said before, Chris, about them being held accountable. If they go back and tail between the legs and say it's not happening, there still need to be some kind of punishment. I know Neville was saying there should be deducted points for even thinking about leaving the Premier League. Things like that, you know.
You're saying
there needs to be something, because you can't just go, oh, it's okay, we'll come back with open arms and it's all right. There needs to be, because if you don't punish them, 3-4 years time, they might just do it again. With a more bigger idea or plan that they've got. So I do.
Do you know what it is, lads? We'll call it a night, because this one's been going for an hour and a half. We'll call this one. And do you know what I can't wait for? Alan Pardew receiving his Premier League winners medal. It might happen. It might just happen yet. Give it a Haddam, just to piss Mark off. Give it a Haddam.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But yeah, lads, it's a horrible situation for everybody else. But in fact, not for everybody else. For every footballing fan, I'm saying everybody else. But like I said earlier, even fans of these top 6 clubs are livid with this one. It's not right. It really isn't. There'll be more coming in the next week, if not in the next 24 to 48 hours. We're going to hear something. There's more happening. There's definitely more going on behind the scenes, and we're going to hear about it. And you know for fine well, it's all going to be about backhanders. It'll be about backhanders, and what can we give you to allow us to stay in the Premier League?
And yet again, it's the football fan that loses out.
Yeah. But as always, fans will be left to pick up the pieces when it all goes to shit. Unfortunately, it's our clubs. It's not their clubs. Unfortunately, they are the ones that make decisions. Sign up to the 1892 pledge. Thanks, boys. Enjoy the rest of your night. Yeah, we won you now. We might win the title, you know.
What, fourth at the minute? Exactly. Oh, fourth?
Mate,
I saw a thing earlier on it. I think we're fourth or fifth at the minute.
Yeah, just give it. Right. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your night and weeks. We'll be back. Don't forget to buy a pin badge. They're lovely. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.